attempt. Yeah, you need. I changed the order that I do this in, so that's okay. Because I'd like to get a mineral and see if it works as a weed intro. So yeah, I need to make sure I go. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do part-time work. But yeah, so I'm actually now positive that sub 1 is possible. Even with new timing, sub 1 is definitely possible. And it's actually not as unreasonable as I was thinking it might be just like possible but very unlikely, but now I actually think it's probably end up. I don't know. I'd like to grind this a little bit, probably not too hard, but if I can just get a clean run with good crops and no resets on the, as long as I get it within the 15 or 16 dry season days, then okay, cool. No worries. Nice, I'll use this. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, it's a reset. But I really hope this strat works, because if it does, then that makes it a lot easier to get the weed intro. But I have to remember I gotta go straight up here. I'm actually gonna wait for him to get a little bit further, because that's what I thought. So, yeah. Please, door. Oh, I didn't change my notes on this. Shit. Okay. I know I'm doing the right thing here. I didn't change my notes. I meant to do this first, and then go. Cool. Oh shit. Okay. Remember weed intro. Nice, it does work. Cool. Nice, okay, awesome. I have half a mind to save for the rainy season in this run too, just because I want to verify that the tweak I made to the route works, but I'm almost positive it does. Please. Well, I hope that worked. Yeah, I didn't test it for that. I'm pretty sure that worked though. We'll find out a little bit later, but I'm almost certain that that was gonna. Alright, this is Wednesday the 3rd. Friday the. No. Yeah, it is. Yeah, right. Then Friday the 12th. Yeah. Oh my god, I forgot about the recipe. That's right, you don't do the recipe until later. Okay, so it literally doesn't matter when I get the recipe, actually. But yeah, it's a good thing if I don't forget it. So I figured just get it right now, because yeah, I don't do that until... Yeah, you don't do it till spring 30, yeah, so we're good. Actually, she gives you a text box about the recipe if you haven't gotten it yet, if you haven't given it to her yet. I wonder if getting it changes the text box, so then I would want to see which one was faster. This is, we'll see if her text box changes now, because I've gotten it. I still won't have given it to her yet, but... because you don't give it to her until you get the cutscene. Yeah, then this is Thursday, right? Thursday the 4th. Herb, dude. I want that dank herb. Come on. Why can't you give me an herb? Probably one over here anyway. Probably I thought it was. Yep, she gives a shorter text box. Well, maybe she always gives you the recipe text box once. We'll have to see. That's something to test. Because she gives you the really short, like It's Early text box. If you Or she just gave that to me, so we'll have to test that. I actually think I'm going to change the bi-animal split. I'm going to change it because it coincides with the same day as the Moondrop Dew anyway, so I might as well make it a Moondrop Dew day, or Moondrop Dew split, because then it's easier to know when to split. I can just split after the Moondrop Dew cutscene, so I'll probably just split there and then rename the split. This is Friday, I said right. Herb here, dude, please. Should have just grabbed the berry, but ideally you get an herb right there, basically. On the way to the... Now I'm gonna have to... The camera is so trash here, and there's no herb there. What the hell, man? Dude, please. Dude, please pick up the berry. The reason it's weird with Katie is because it's optimal not to forage anything because she's actually outside by the, like in the same area where you get the forageable items. So rather than picking up an item and putting it in your pocket, then pulling it back out, you just pick it up on the way to talk to her and then give it to her without ever putting it in your pocket. So it's really convenient, but that means that you want to get the closest, to save the most time, you want to get the item that's closest to you. So ideally, you get an herb right there on the way, but herbs are some of the most random. Saturday. Because they grow in one day, but they don't necessarily stay there. It's kind of a weird thing. Like, whereas even though the other forageables, the other berries and flowers grow somewhat randomly, they still, once they start growing in a certain spot, they'll continue growing in that spot until they're full grown and until you pick them. I should say, even once they're full grown, then they'll stay there until you pick them. So, whereas the herb can show up in a couple different spots. Herbs and medicinal herbs can show up in a couple different spots, but they're like a one-day thing. They appear on that day, and then if you don't get them on that day, they disappear anyway. So I could go out of my way for this berry here, but it's better if there's an herb right next to this sign. And there can be a backup herb and in one spot over here by Katie, but if that one doesn't grow either, then... Okay, there was one by C, there's one right behind her, but that's kind of out of the way. It's probably no more out of the way than the berry was. Of course, I'm kind of splitting hairs, but, you know, just thinking of small time saves. Because that's really all you have in a game like this. It's just these tiny little, you know, what seem like insignificant time saves, but I've got no days of rain, so that means this is, yeah, 5 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is today, so that's 5, yep. Sunday tomorrow, skip Monday. Is this Friday? No, this is Saturday, the 6th, so in 6 days I'll get first harvest. Sunday. I feel like there's got to be more glitches in this game too, which is something I'm not very. I don't know. It's not that I'm like bad at. Well, yeah, I've never really found any glitches. I guess I'm not really a glitch hunter. I guess I've never really tried, but you know, seems like there's dupe glitches in a lot of Harvest Moon games, including later games like Magical Melody and you know whatever. Not that I know of in this game. Even though I have found the address. I mean, in theory, it should in theory be possible, just because as long as you can somehow manipulate the address where it stores the item count, then, you know, I'm able to do it with the cheat program, obviously. But. Damn, dude, I'm getting no rain. Rainy Monday is perfect, because I can't get around Monday anyway. Here we go. So that means that I shouldn't have to refill my can in Goddess Dress at all. So I refilled it and I actually wasted time doing that. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this is Thursday the 11th. False. Shit, almost didn't talk to her. Saturday 13th. Sorry, Jesus, dude. Well, this is fine, but Sunday, 14th. Yeah, that makes sense. one more for now. And the last interaction will be this is Sunday. Monday. Why, dude? It's Tuesday the 16th. Well, it doesn't matter, but it's actually still kind of silly because yeah, it's kind of silly. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter when I get through, but so yeah, I should Well, it's just that I have to forage. I have to harvest today. That's why it's silly. So I have to come outside anyway, but. And I am going to save here. I don't really want to, but yeah, I don't want to. I'd rather finish this run and just make sure the route works, so. Yeah, I do, yeah. Actually, I know that it's fake. Yeah, you should be worried about that, yeah. 1, 17, 18, 19, 20. Unfortunately, when I have this conversation, there's just, it's too long of a list of things, but you'd have to go back down the laundry list of lies that the media and government have conspired to tell you for many decades. Well, hang on, let me just get through this. 21, 22. Let me just get through this, and then let me just finish this part real quick, and I will I'll explain it again. So this is apparently what my stream is now. It's just the Corona conspiracy stream. But that's my fault. It's not like it's anybody else's fault. Well, okay. I just hate this because it's like, wait, what day is this? It's Monday. Okay, so I can't do today. Fair enough. Basically, well, yeah, I mean, I appreciate that you think that about me, but you know, I could be wrong just as much as anybody. I'm not infallible, but it sure seems like nobody really wants to dabble with this perspective. Maybe it's because it's ridiculous, but I don't think it's ridiculous. Okay, so first of all, I think the biggest red flag that I've found so far is that it's, and you know, you're gonna find a lot of debunking of this online, and you can believe it if you want, but I would just hear me out first. The biggest red flag that I've found so far, that's just like a blatant red flag in my opinion, is Event 201, which was basically it's literally a pandemic simulation, what they called a tabletop exercise. No, please grab it. Yeah, me and SS here have already been through all this, but what they called a tabletop exercise. This is the 23rd. A tabletop exercise that they did. That when I say they, I mean WHO. I think CDC was involved, a couple other organizations, including the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, blah, 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 right? That they did, and these people did, and this is the 24th. in October 2019, right? It was like October 18th, 2019. So that was 2 months almost to the day, or at least I believe it was mid-December that everything came out about coronavirus, right? That they did this tabletop exercise, right? Well, it's not just a pandemic simulation, right? It was a pandemic simulation simulating a novel coronavirus pandemic, right? Okay. So you can look at that a number of ways. You can look back at the backlog of, Bill Gates videos telling you about how the next pandemic is just around the corner, right? He does all these TED Talks, whatever, telling you that. Keeping in mind that Bill Gates, well, if you trust Bill Gates, then that's kind of your business, but that's a completely separate thing, although that contributes to why I don't believe any of this. So you can believe that, they were just knew this was happening, this was bound to happen, they've been predicting this for years, so it's a complete coincidence that they simulated all this right before this all happened, but I don't believe that. Because I don't trust those people, because I don't think my distrust of World Health Authorities, WHO, CDC, etc. FDA is another big one. The FDA, as a simple example of FDA is corrupt. Is clearly corrupt as hell. They tried to basically falsely label kratom an opiate, just so that they could ban it, so that they could essentially patent a synthetic version of the active chemical in it and then sell it. They haven't quite been successful at, but I've watched plenty of Senate testimony or whatever it is of the former FDA guy, Gottlieb, I think is his name, talking about how kratom has killed X number of people, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit, okay? It's bullshit. They're not making up the statistics, but essentially they're inflating them by mislabeling it a kratom death, when all of these cases, at least that I'm aware of, the 20 cases that I'm aware of, are old people who are taking or people who have taken a lot of different drugs. Yeah, November, December, yeah. But yeah, so anyway, so what I'm saying is, but hang on, I actually have to do something now. 29, 30. Hang on, let me just follow my notes really quick. I'll have a second to wait here anyway. So I think you can look at this at multiple different ways. If you either believe that you have three options basically. You either believe it's a coincidence, just regarding that simulation, right? You either believe it's a coincidence, total coincidence, and that these World Health Authorities are completely trustworthy, and that they've basically been warning us for all this time, and it just so happens that what they've been warning us about all this time happened just right after they did one of these simulations. And probably they do lots of simulations, but it just so happened to happen after this one. Okay, fine. So that's one option. The other two options are both involve these organizations being completely untrustworthy, corrupt, pushing products that they themselves profit from, spreading misinformation about natural health remedies, and remedies that don't involve pharmaceuticals or vaccines or what have you. Spreading false information about GMOs, all these kinds of things, right? So the other two options are that either the simulation happened right before it actually happened, this pandemic actually happened, because they created a virus and released it and created a pandemic on purpose, right? A real pandemic, but they made it. For reasons, for the same kinds of reasons that they do the other things that they do, right? Fear, which allows you to increase surveillance, security, control, dependence on these things. What you want to call it, population control measures, maybe, right? Or the other option is there literally is no virus. And the reason why I tend towards that possibility is because I understand, for example, that thing that I said about the kratom, right? That you can. I got another one for you here. I'll tell you. These are the kinds of statistics that I see on the TV all the time, right? Excuse me. Hang on, let me just... Dude. Hang on, let me just make sure that I'm following these notes correctly. So the thing I was gonna say, oh yeah, here's a great one for you. They said something today like, what they're trying to push now is well, young people have to be afraid of the coronavirus too. All these dumb bastards at Fort Lauderdale having their spring break, they're putting everybody in danger, and they could be dead too. Okay, so the way they scare people, the way they scare young people, is by giving statistics like this. Head up to Villa, trigger the cutscene, okay. By giving statistics like 40% of those hospitalized by coronavirus, right? Not even those who get it, but those who are hospitalized. So that's a completely different thing. So you kind of have to look past that level too, right? 40% of those who are hospitalized for coronavirus are between the ages of 20 and 54. 20 and 54, right? I'll let you digest why that statistic is not something to be scared of, but you know, I can break it down for you if you really want to. But even if you think it's real, give me a break. That's how you're scaring people, right? But that's what I'm saying, Boo. So ultimately, I will admit that ultimately my hang on. By the cow, chicken and cow. Okay. Ultimately, my position relies on the belief that you pretty much can't trust anything that the media says ever. And the reason why I say that is because if somebody lied to you, you know, on countless occasions over the years, a friend of yours maybe, right? And used it as an excuse to ask you if he could borrow money, and you borrow him the money every single time, right? Or I should say, you lend him the money every single time. Not only that, he doesn't really pay you back. He says, "Oh, you know, I'll buy you a case of beer next week," right? Or something like that. And next week he brings you maybe 2 beers, 3. He drank the other 2 or the other 3 that was in the 6-pack, right? Right. And then you find out later that whatever bullshit he told you to lend him the money was not true, right? So he's done that to you for the last 10 years at least. And so now when he comes out with this next, you know, tragedy that's happened in his life, he needs some money right now. Are you going to lend him the money? If you lend him the money, that's your fault. Now, imagine that this buddy is actually not asking you for the money, he's telling you. He's holding a gun to your head, and he's saying, you better give me this money, or I'm either going to imprison you, or I'm going to kill you, bro. That is the government. And the media. Working together, right? So, when put that way, I like to think it makes a little bit more, or it sounds a little bit more common sense to people. That's literally what the government is, right? Even if you don't, fuck all the conspiracy theories. That is still what the government is. that, you know, taxation is theft. You don't have to be one of those guys who says taxation is theft. I actually think that taxation is a reasonable idea if the taxes actually went to benefiting the people who are paying them, right? Anyway, so fuck all that. But yes, I admit that my position relies on not trusting pretty much anything that comes out of, because they have no credibility. The media, they hide behind pretended authority, the pretense of authority, and the pretense of credentials or whatever. And so any of these numbers you're saying, you keep seeing higher numbers coming out, they mean nothing. They literally mean nothing. So, and I think a lot of people realize that even amongst people who believe the virus is real, they see a government completely about to go off the rails and like exploit this to the fullest. And people are, even my dad, who was freaking out for the first like 2 months this was all happening, right, was freaking out even up till now. He's kind of started to change his tune. He's not really admitting that he kind of freaked out too much. He's just kind of very quietly saying, well, you know, is what it is, you know, if we, you know, probably won't get sick, we'll probably be fine. Because I think he's realizing, oh my God, these motherfuckers, even if he's not admitting it to himself, these motherfuckers are trying to take us for a ride. Are you kidding me, dude? Oh, whatever. You know. So, but the problem is that until you directly confront the question, not the fact, but the question of whether or not the virus is real, unless you actually ask yourself that question and really critically wonder whether the reports, oh my God, oh no, I can't move it. Okay, I was gonna say, if I can't push this cow at night, I'm gonna be pretty pissed. Then you can't really get to the truth of exactly to what extent you're being manipulated. Well, again, that's why I'm saying, well, and that's very funny that you should say that, right? Well, hang on a second. Let me just... Okay, hang on. I need to sleep now. If you say you have no way of finding out that the virus is fake, then I guess what I'm curious about is, then why assume that it's real? Oh, dude, hang on. I'm gonna have to just... Actually, because this is a good run, so I'm just gonna... So you just chew on that for a sec while I'm... Except for the 23rd, right? Oh, I already have a Moondrop Dew split. So these splits are fucked. Right, because if the virus is real, then these people have some sort of justification. Well, we're just trying to protect you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Sorry, hang on, let me just... Your other a lot of this is intuition. I'm gonna be honest. I can't This is a heart and soul thing. This is not a brain thing. It doesn't. Certainly the facts matter, but wow, I'm getting really good. Nice. Okay. It should be a little eerie to you that the president is literally talking about this virus as if it's a terrorist enemy. He's talking about fighting and defeating this invisible enemy among us, right? You should be wondering what the heck that means. It's not bad. You should really be wondering what the heck that means. And if it's really just, it's real, but they're just blowing it way the fuck out of proportion, then, yeah, I just, you still, if you think it's real and you're actually thinking that they're taking some measures that are justified, then you must be under the impression that there's some danger to you or people who you care about. But there's really no evidence that there is. Right? None of us have seen any evidence that any of us are in any immediate danger. I really don't believe you're in that. By the way, this is going to look like a cheated run, and it was not the cleanest. But I don't think I'll be able to beat this run, because I literally just got, like, almost perfect luck. No, that exactly, SS. That's what I'm saying. Which is why I don't believe it's real. If you wait a second. If you really don't even believe that they're blowing it out of proportion, then I really don't know what you're looking at. I don't know what news you're looking at, because 40 seconds, 30 would be 06, 16. I really don't. I don't mean to be rude, but I don't know what you're basing your opinion on then. Because even amongst some pretty major sheeple online, or even people I talk to, they're well aware of the fact that this is being just all of the statistics. Well, what I'm saying is if there were really scary statistics, then the news would be sharing them. The fact that they're sharing complete farcical statistics should be your cue that, they don't really have any heavy-hitting, knockdown, drag-out arguments here. Well, then I'm seriously waiting around then. Seriously, I'll call you when I get the fucking coronavirus. I will call your ass. No, they're not. Saying that I've been watching the news like most days actually. Maybe I'm watching the wrong news. You gotta point it out to me then, because I'm not. And they keep changing their story of, does it have long-term effects on the lungs? Doesn't it? Well, at first they were saying this could really fuck you up for life, your lungs, Then I saw a report today that interviewed a guy, supposedly the head doctor in Washington State, who's dealing with all these cases. He said, well, most people are not going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is literally insane. Dude, the media is the only source from which you would even know of the existence of this thing. So what you're saying is, believe the media that it's real, but don't believe anything else. I'm sorry. I'm at least consistent. I don't believe any fucking thing they say. By the way, no one's gonna beat this. I don't know how anyone's gonna beat this. Sorry that this run had to have the Corona backtrack to it, guys, but yeah. Whoever's watching this. Hi, YouTube. I'm just gonna like let the credits play for a sec. I will get to this during the fishy story. Because I'm gonna play fishy story after this. I'll derail fishy story. This is crazy, dude. This time is actually crazy. Dude, fuck Dunning-Kruger. Do not even bring up Dunning-Kruger. I just, you're triggering me too much. I actually like you, SS, so I don't want to be a jackass to you, honestly. I really don't want to be a jackass. I think you're a nice guy. I think you're really smart. Like having you in chat, but you're really gonna trigger me. I can't. I have to draw the line at some point. Anyway, for those of you watching on YouTube, the time losses were... No, I don't think that it's not legit. I think that it's used. I think that it's abused. I think it's very abused. Give me a sec. Let me just review what happened in this run, just for posterity, for anybody who wants to learn from this. Basically, I got one ore in the when I tilled the plots. Used that as my weed intro for Katie and Gina. Saved the other two required cutscenes besides the initial noon cafe cutscene for the same day as the villa cutscene. But the villa cutscene you can't do until after you give Katie the recipe. So you give Katie the recipe, and you would do this all on the same day as the full moon. And surprisingly, the game doesn't make you wait a day. So on the 30th, you give Katie the recipe, trigger the villa cutscene, and then go back and give her the book that Gina gives you in the villa cutscene. And then that book is the one that contains the recipe or the information about the Moondrop Dew, which you then do that cutscene on the exact same day. You have to wait till 9 p.m. So you really want to fit that all into the same day. And I did not lose any crops. I saved just in case because I wanted to finish the run. Those are the kinds of silly time losses that are in this. I also paused a few times to check the day. But overall, I would say overall it was clean. Yeah, overall it was quite clean. Wow, I can't believe this was so fast. That's crazy. I wish DP was here. He would have seen this. Hang on, I'll get to it. Hang on. If you guys are, I'm gonna keep streaming, so don't worry. I'll get around to it. Hang on. I just have to mash through this cutscene, and then we're in time. Time will be up. Wait, actually, I gotta skip this. Speed. Yeah, this literally looks like a cheated run because of the luck I got. But yeah, I assure you, I literally just got that kind of luck. I need to check out what the odds are for the golden egg and milk. I don't think they're that low, but I don't think they're that high. I would guess like 10 to 20%, but you can obviously get royally screwed for weeks on end. GG.